Hey guys, Charlie Murphy here. Thank you for choosing my video. Today I'm playing a session of 2-5 no limit 6 max games on Ignition. Lower left hand table had a recreational player limp middle position. I isolate from the cutoff with about a 21% range, including ace 9 suited. He checks to me on the 9-8-5 two-tone board. I'll go ahead and put in a small range bet. Calls me. Lousy turn. On a nice blank turn, I'd be looking to get the rest of the money in, either jamming all in or betting half pot, half pot. I'm not sure which way I would go. On that four straight particular turn, I'm just going to go ahead and check back my top pair, top kicker. Look to get to the river and evaluate. Now he checks back the river. I'm really expecting him to check back too many straights there twice. I think I'm going to go ahead and try to get some thin value. I'm not really worried about check raise bluffs from this guy. I get called by worse 9, 8x, 7x type hands. Justify all the bluffs I'm going to do there with my air. Lower right-hand table, open ace-6 suited from the button using a 44% range. Get 3-bet by the small blind, pretty healthy size, about 4.5x. I can defend, though, against a reg in this very loose formation with all my suited aces, so I'll go ahead and call. Decent flop with Jack, Jack 6, where I block the full houses. I block the trips top kicker. He goes ahead and bets small and definitely float that at least once. Goes and he jabs at that turn small. I think there's no decision here. We just go ahead and call. Any full houses, trips, flush draws, middle pair type hands, I think all want to be played for a call on this line. Just get to the river. Nice river for me. Now I only lose to flop trips, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and looking to get the money in here. In fact, I also think I want to be value betting, jamming here like I could do with my whiffed out draws. Yeah, I think not trying to get value here is just way too nitty. If he has some kind of pocket pair or maybe even ace high, he could get suspicious and pay me off. Lower right-hand table, 8-7 suited from middle position, slightly looser than I would typically open there. It's pretty close, but I'll go ahead and fold it. Same situation, upper right-hand table, 8-7 suited middle position, just outside of standard 21% open range for me, but very close. You open in that spot where I fold, I don't think you're making any kind of significant mistake. Lower left-hand table, recreational player limps under the gun. I'll complete the small blind with king 8 offsuit, probably towards the bottom of my completion range, but I still think it's going to be okay to do here. It can't be too bad to be in pots with recreational players. Flop checks around. I'm going to go ahead and stab small at the turn and probably follow through on the river regardless of whatever card peels off. I get one caller here, but I did thin the ranks. I'm going to go ahead and continue bluffing, try to move them off middling pair, ace high, something like that. And size up a bit more now that we're not multi-way any longer. Probably don't fold too many pairs out or ace high, but I think it's going to be a bit better than checking and having to fold if he bluffs or value bets. Lower left-hand table, open ace-7 offsuit from the button using a 44% range. Upper left-hand table, I'll open ace-king under the gun using an 18% range. Get 3-bet by the button. Hasn't 3-bet yet, but only 7 opportunities so far, so the sample is essentially meaningless, and 1 out of 8's a very reasonable 3-bet frequency. We get overcalled here. I'm going to go ahead and put in my 4-bet and call off against this guy. 4-bet queens plus ace-king here. Lower right-hand table, got a 2.5x open from the cutoff. I'm in the big blind with queen 10 offsuit. I'll go ahead and defend for a call and check range on the flop. Ace, queen, deuce, rainbow board. He bets small. Go ahead and check call with my second pair. Continue checking on the turn. He moves in all over the top. Let's see, overbet here with second pair. I'll just go ahead and fold. Planning to call off with my ace-king, which I'll do. Ran into aces, which is a damn shame, but I just don't think I'm going to be folding ace-king pre-flop for 100 blinds unless there's some kind of crazy cold 4-bet dynamic going on. And the blind player cold calling the 3-bet is not enough to make me think that's at play here. Was leaving that table anyway because it didn't seem very fishy, and unfortunately they managed to clip me for my stack on the way out the door. Lower left-hand table got a min raise from a looks like a kind of a loose passive recreational player that's been limping. I don't think his range is all that wide here, but I can defend a min raise with a hand like 9-7 offsuit, which I will do, and then check range on the flop. And he checks back the flop. I now actually have a gut shot. I'm going to go ahead and start jabbing at that turn small. 4 straight out there on the board. I've got 9 high. I've got nothing really to do here but go ahead and just continue bluffing with this hand. Against an ace, he's obviously not going to be folding for that, but I can fold out some pairs. Yeah, when he goes ahead and puts in that raise, I can just go ahead and fold. I mean, I do have good removals of the stone cold nuts to 6-7 by having the 7 in my hand, but I'm not going to do anything crazy like 3-bet bluff the river against a fish. That just seems suicidal to me. Upper right-hand table, going to open king 5 suited from the cutoff using a 28% range. Lower right-hand table, got a 2.2x open from middle position. I'll go ahead and 3-bet the button with pocket jacks. 3-betting about 13% in that spot. Upper right-hand table, going to go ahead and range bet against the big blind on that 10-6-5 two-tone board. I do have bottom pair and the backdoor flush draw. And get raised. He makes it 30 more to go. It raises about 75%. It's a pretty decent check raise size. Given that I've got a pair and I've got a backdoor flush draw, I want to be able to have hands that have strong draws or strong hands and various runouts, so I think this is a good hand to defend the check raise with at least once. Lower left-hand table, I will open the button with 9-6 suited using a 44% range. Now, when he goes ahead and checks to me on that ace, I'm going to go ahead and stab for half pot here. He check calls twice. I just don't know that he's going to put too many real strong hands into that check call line. He could probably find a call with some kind of ace. I think this is a spot where I'm either going to have nuts or nothing, so I'm going to go ahead and just overbet bluff this guy all in right here. I'm mostly worried about him waking up with some kind of two-pair hand like ace-10, jack-10 that can check call off. But I think his other 10x hands are going to feel real small at this point, and I'm going to look very, very strong. Got it through. Upper right-hand table, going to open ace-jack suited from middle position using a 21% range. Lower right-hand table, going to open queen-jack suited from the cutoff using a 28% range. Just going to leave this table and realize this guy might actually be a recreational player. He does have some limps on his resume here. Lower left-hand table looks real good, and I do have a rec on the upper right-hand table as well. Presumed rec here with this shorter stack. A couple of guys actually playing sub 100 blinds on the upper left-hand table, so tables look promising at the moment. Yeah, just as I finally get going on the upper left-hand table, the suspected recreational players both decide it's time to go. That's a shame, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. For left-hand table, I will open ace-7 offsuit from the button using a 44% range. Get called by the big blind. Get a 5-4-3 two-tone board. Pretty decent board for me, giving me straight draws to both the 6 or the deuce. Lower right-hand table, get a 2.5x open for middle position. I'm in the big blind with pocket eights. Pocket eights right on the cusp, but I think I'll go ahead and call those. Probably 3-bet 9s are better, call 8s or worse. Upper left-hand table, going to go ahead and put in a small range bet there on that 5-4-3 board. And barrel quite a few turns as well. Interesting raise here. I think I want to be floating the small check raise here, especially in this loose formation, especially with the backdoor spade draw. I want to have some one spare ace hands in my range here to continue, and I think ace 7, ace 6 are the best ones to do it, or ace deuce, of course, as well. Lower right-hand table, going to go ahead and jab at that turn small after the flop checks through. Get called. I'm actually going to go ahead and continue betting for value to get called down by 7x, ace high, stuff like that. Not too worried about trip 10s. Against the second barrel on the turn, though, having not picked up any equity, we just go ahead and fold my ace 7. Upper right-hand table, get a min raise from the button. I'm sitting on pocket eights. I can go ahead and 3-bet that particular combo. 3-bet about 10% here against that min raise from the button. Get a min raise from middle position, lower right-hand table. I'm in the small blind with pocket 10s. Going to go ahead and 3-bet about 9% here, including the pocket 10s in this particular spot. And actually, that was deeper on. Those other guys were not involved. They were not dealt into the hand, so I think I actually need to be a bit wider. That's not really middle position. That's more like the button. So that's going to be more like a 15% 3-bet range. Either way, pocket 10s are going to be in there. Upper right-hand table, got a 3x open from the cutoff. I'll 3-bet the button with queen 10 suited, 3-betting about 12% here. All my suited broadways, pocket 7s plus, ace jack plus, king queen, wheel aces, and maybe a couple other hands like ace 9, 10 9 suited. Min raise from the cutoff in the lower right-hand table. I'll 3-bet from the button with queen 9 suited, 3-betting about 14% in this loose formation, especially given his small raise first in size. Upper right-hand table, going to go ahead and put in a small range bet with my queen jack on that ace 6-4 two-tone board. Games seem a little reg heavier than I would like them to be at the moment. The recs keep jumping out on me. Or right-hand table, open king 10 suited from middle position using a 21% range. Lower left-hand table, open king 10 from middle position using a 21% range. Button calls me in position. Small blind does as well. Put a maybe tag on him. Sliding on the small blind is not something you should be doing a whole lot of. Now, I would have some flats in this guy's particular spot here. Some middling pocket pairs not good enough to squeeze with, but with the overcall, that want to get in there to try to hit that set. Kind of hands that smack the hell out of that board, as a matter of fact. So I don't think I want to start getting too wild here. Yeah, and he leads into me. I am just out of there. And I do want to see what he shows down here, because if he shows down something like pocket sevens, pocket fives, he's probably a reg, making a reasonable deviation from what you would normally do in the small blind. But if he's somehow ends up with some kind of fishy hand here, he's leading the flop small. I don't yet know without seeing what this guy is doing here, if he's a reg or a fish. This guy should have pocket pair heavy range as well, calling on the button. I would really like to see this showdown. This guy flatting the raise and flatting the 3-bet. I think he had a funky stack a couple hands ago. I don't know for sure yet that this guy's a wreck either, but enough to keep an eye on him. Suspected wreck sitting not up there as well. That's a shame. Upper left-hand table, cutoff opens 3x. I'll 3-bet from the button with ace-queen offsuit. 3-betting about 12% here. Got called and got a queen 10-8 two-tone board. I do have the backdoor nut flush draw and flush draw blocker with the ace of diamonds. I'll go ahead and put in a small bet here. He quickly check calls. King is not a great card for me. I'm content to check this back. I could be betting my sets. I think I'd still have to be betting eights, tens, queens, kings. I could have Jack 10. Might have a little bit of Jack 9, but not too much. Or I'm sorry, Ace Jack rather for the nuts, and I have a little bit of Jack 9, I suppose. But Ace Queen, I'm just content to check that back. That's a good river there, giving me the trips. Be looking to get either most likely just calling if he leads into me and not raising. But certainly betting myself if he checks to me. Lower left-hand table, going to open King Jack from the cutoff using a 28% range. He checks to me again on the river in the upper left-hand table, so I'll go ahead and try to get some value with my trip queens. Lower left-hand table, the big blind comes along and calls. Get an ace-queen 3 two-tone board. I'll go ahead and put in a small range, but I do have a gut shot and a flush draw blocker. Going to go ahead and isolate up here against these limpers. Make this about 30 out of the blinds here. I'm going to overbet or check, and I've got the flush draw blocker, so I'll use this gut shot to be in the overbet line as opposed to the check line on the lower left-hand table. Check some, block the backdoor flush draw as well. Lower right-hand table, I'm going to go ahead and range check on that nasty 8-7-6 two-tone board here. Now, when he checks back, though, and now I am going to start stabbing at that pot, following through on the river. Against the raise, though, I'm just going to go ahead and dump that. I have a loose passive fishy player min raises under the gun on the lower left-hand table. I can defend that min raise from my big blind with all suited combos, included 7 deuce, so I'll do that, then check range on the flop. He checks back. We have an 8-7. He checks back the 7-6-5 two-tone board. Turn is the 8, putting the 4-straight out there. I am going to probe with this turn small. Mostly check the river back. Now there's a straight on the board. I think I may as well just go ahead and bet at it and see if he'll fold, give me credit for the 9. Probably just calling for a chop, but yeah. We get a recreational player limps. Pocket 7s in the small blind after it folds around to me. It's kind of close. I usually isolate 8s or better and continue in for a call with 7s. I'll just call here, but raising certainly isn't bad either. I'll check range on the flop. Get an 8-6-4 rainbow board. It's a pretty decent board for me. A turn gets even better, giving me that 4 straight with the 5. I'll go ahead and jab at this turn small, using that small 1/3-ish size, the min bet here in the multi-way pot. River is an 8, pairing the board, but my hand is still very strong. I think I'm going to go ahead, and no reason to overbet here for value, I don't think, though he is a fish, which makes it a bit closer. I think given that the board paired and I don't actually have the 7-9 for the true nut straight, I'll just go ahead and use the smaller size. But overbet would not be bad here either. Just don't check. Try to get value, especially against a fish that's going to find calls with hands he might not necessarily find, might necessarily should be calling. He had ace-3, so I'm not exactly sure why he called that combo, but that's why you don't check against fish when you have a strong hand. Lower left-hand table, we'll open deuces from cutoff using a 28% range. Recreational player calls on the button. Gets squeezed small by another recreational player. Given that it's only about a 3x, I think I can actually call here just because I'm not too worried about getting back jammed, and this hand is going to play itself post-flop where either I hit my 3rd deuce or I don't. Yeah, against that real small size, I'm going to go ahead and continue for a call. Just looking to hit a 3rd deuce and really make somebody very, very miserable. That's a brilliant flop for me. 5-5 deuce. He goes ahead and blasts for pot. I will just continue for a call here. I'm really only worried about a 5. He goes all in. I snap off with the 5s. Got it against aces. He's drawing very slim, and I pick up a nice easy stack from a recreational player who really made the trouble for himself pre-flop. Not because he 3-bet. He should, of course, be 3-betting there, but by his very poor 3-bet size, that's going to let me sneak into the pot with all kinds of stupid garbage I would never be in there with against an appropriate size 3-bet. And because of it, I have his stack, and he does not. Get a 2.2x open from the button on the lower left-hand table. I've got ace deuce. You might fold a little bit here against that a little bit of an ace x offsuit. You know, I'm looking at a chart on my second monitor, 2.25x open against a 40% RFI range. Ace deuce is the only offsuit ace that I fold. We'll go ahead and fold it and try to stick to what the game plan tells me. I'm sure defending there can't be too bad, though, if a hand is on the cusp. I'm sure it's very, very close. Get a 2.2x open from the small blind here, again on that lower left-hand table, or I'm sorry, from the cutoff. This time I'm in the small blind against that player. And I've got 10-9 suited. I can go ahead and I can 3-bet that. 3-bet about 11%. This is probably one of the fringy hands, but this is a fringy hand on the right side of the line as opposed to the last hand that was a fringy hand on the wrong side of the line. Upper right-hand table, I'll open ace-king under the gun using an 18% range. And I get 3-bet a large size to 4250, a little bit larger than I would go. It's about 3.5x, I suppose. Upper left-hand table, open 10-9 blind on blind using the 45% range. Against that 3-bet, though, I'm just going to go ahead and quickly fold my 10-9. I'm going to go ahead and 4-bet queens plus ace-king to call off, and maybe ace-queen offsuit as my bluff in this particular spot. Don't think there's any reason to deviate from a standard game plan. Lower right-hand table, open ace-jack under the gun using an 18% range. Upper left-hand table, open king-queen from the cutoff using a 28% range. He calls me, get an ace-queen 8 two-tone board. Going to go ahead and put in a small range bet. That board smacks my 4-bet range, of course. Upper left-hand table, going to go ahead and range bet small on the ace-jack 7 rainbow board. I mean, if he has ace-queen or pocket queens, I'm in huge trouble. But, you know, if he got there, he got there. I would check a lot of turns here, but given that I don't have the diamond, I really don't want to let him peel another diamond on the cheap, so I think the better move here is to move all in. I think the best hands to trap with are going to be queens with the diamond or ace-king with the king of diamonds. Aces kind of can go either way. But here, ace-king, no diamond, I think I just want to get it in and force him to show me a better hand. He quickly calls with queens with the queen of diamonds, so I'm in terrible shape there, but what are you going to do when a guy hits a set in the 4-bet pot? I get check raised here with my gut shot, going to go ahead and defend that. Probably just once, probably fold to any follow-up pressure. I like the way he played that, though. I would play queens the same way, pre-flop, both against the RFI and against the 4-bet, then on the flop as well. So I think he played just fine. He just got there, and I didn't. Unfortunately, I think I had no equity in that pot when I moved all in, which hate to be doing, but sometimes you have top pair, top kicker in a 4-bet pot and also have no equity. It's just the way the cards fall. Upper left-hand table, open ace-queen from middle position using a 21% range. Lower left-hand table, after I open the deuces and check the flop against the rec player, and the flop checks through, so I'm going to go ahead and start stabbing at this turn and plan to follow through on the river if he calls me. This recreational player min raises the cutoff. I've got pocket tens. I'll be planning to put in a 3-bet here. I'm going to 3-bet this guy. probably about 7%, 6-7%, including the pocket tens. Upper left-hand table, going to go ahead and squeeze. Actually, a little bit closer. I think we can actually still squeeze that. I'm going to keep barreling with my second set here on the lower left-hand table. Could have maybe gone a little bit bigger, maybe more like pot on the turn would have been better. Just going to move all in here for about pot. If he's got a king, he's never getting away. Wouldn't think. He got away. Limp pot, lower right-hand table. Small blind comes along. I check in from the big blind. I'll check range on this flop, 7-6-5 two-tone. I do have the low end of the straight. This guy's short. Hope he bets so I can check raise and start blasting. Jack is a blank as far as I'm concerned. It's an overcard. It doesn't really change anything about the straight or the flush draw. Get led into I think I actually want to flat this particular combo here because it's the lower end of the straight and we're deep in a limp pot. Against the fish, I was just looking to get the money all in. Now he checks the river on that 8 on that 4 straight. I'm just going to go ahead and try to value bet the low end of the straight here now. And he had the jack for top pair, king jack. Probably put me on a busted flush draw. Get a 3x open over here from what is effectively the cutoff, given that this player was not dealt in. Or I'm sorry, no, it's the middle position. This guy was dealt in. Only one player was out. It's middle position, 3x open. I'll defend for a call with 6-5 suited for my big blind. Check range on the flop. Let me see here. Lower right-hand table, I open Jack 10 blind down blind using the 45% range. He goes ahead and bets small. I can attack these small flop bets from later position here. So I'm going to go ahead and check raise. I can barrel on 7s and hearts as well. I'm going to check call with my jack on the Jack 9-9 two-tone board blind down blind. Barrels again. This is a fishy recreational player. It looks like he's betting about 75% of pot there. I'll go ahead and check call that. Check the river. Lousy river as it completes the flush, but he was just on another jack. You were going to be chopping a lot of those rivers. Lower right-hand table, open queen 9 suited from middle position using a 21% range. Could see some interesting things develop here on the lower left-hand table with that poster, and I'm sitting on the aces. Now he isolate raises to 1750 over the poster. I'm going to go ahead and reseal that. I'm going to pop him up to 75. Doing this to stack off with jacks or better if he jams back on me. Yeah, jacks are better if he jams back on me. Doing this with about 10% of hands. Calls, get a 10-6 deuce two-tone board. Going to go ahead and put in a small range bet. Turn is a 9. I think this is a better hand to check. I'm not that worried about overcards. If he has a strong hand like a set or a straight or two pair, I'm drawing thin to dead. No reason to be bloating the pot too much here in that spot. Upper right-hand table, open queen 9 suited from the button, using the 44% range. Now he goes and he bets half pot. I'm trying to decide if there's more merit in check calling or check jamming. I think I actually kind of like check jamming better here. You know, I'm in big trouble anyway if he's got me beat. I think check jam is the move here and force him to call off with tens, you know, a 10x jack type hand, whatever. Got him against queens. Those queens were in bad shape. My aces hold up, and I scoop a nice pot. Although, to be fair, my reference to a weird dynamic because of the poster and the isolation raise that may be coming probably didn't really come into effect, as I think queens and aces are just going to get the money in there one way or another no matter what. But I'm happy that table is working out nicely for me so far. Lower right-hand table, open king jack from middle position using a 21% range. Going to go ahead and put in a small range bet against the big blind after that check on the 10-8 deuce two-tone board. It looks like a limper under the gun here. I'm going to go ahead and isolate from the button the lower left-hand table with jack 9 suited using something like my cutoff raise first in range, about 28%. Going to fold king jack here, no spades against that check raise on the lower right-hand table. Upper left-hand table, open king 8 suited from middle position using a 21% range. Lower right-hand table, open king queen under the gun using an 18% range. The rec player calls out of the small blind, and the limper full is getting an 8-5-4 two-tone board. I will go ahead and range bet that small. Upper left-hand table, got fish callers in position, out of position. I'll go ahead and check range on the flop. Good turn for me on that queen 8 deuce rainbow flop with the king of clubs giving me kings and eights for two pair. Upper right-hand table will open ace queen from the cutoff using a 28% range. Upper left-hand table going to go ahead and start jabbing at that pot small. See here, going to range bet with the king queen on the the lower right-hand table. Lower left-hand table, I'll check back after that check call. I could bet or check back. I think if I had a flush draw blockers with the ace queen in the upper right-hand table, I'd bet my gut shot. Here, I'll just check it back. Lower left-hand table, going to go ahead and just sort of fake value bet on that queen, try to fold them off a middling pair. Not going to showdown jack high. Really have no choice but to bluff at that one. Not even close. Got the gut shot and 2 overcards here. The lead is a pretty long from a fishy player, but that doesn't necessarily imply strength to me, even though it's multi-way in a large size because he's a short stack. Given that my overcards are probably reasonably live, I'll go ahead and call that as well. Interesting river for me in that I do block Queen 9 for the nuts that got there. Probably won't do anything too wacky, but if it checks to me, I may have to stab at it. Now he bets 45 into 108. It's not enough left behind him to effectively bluff raise. Plus he's betting multi-way where I'm less comfortable being certain you can bluff raise rivers against fish that use small sizing. So I think it's a very clear fold here. And he was doing that with that janky 3, so my read that it wasn't necessarily strength apparently was spot on, as he had a low pair and my overcards were in fact live. You know, my read that that small size on the river does not necessarily indicate strength was also spot on. Given that he has so little money left behind him, I really can't bluff raise there, but I'm at least seeing some of the patterns there to use if the situation were slightly different. Got a pot-sized open from middle position, lower left-hand table. I'm going to go ahead and give this guy a maybe tag. He hasn't been fishy thus far, has reg-type pre-flop stats, but he's using a very funky sizing, which regs don't typically do, so keep an eye on that too. Recreational player limps under the gun. I'm going to go ahead and ISO out of the small blind. Yeah, ace 10 is good enough, sort of on the cusp. I wouldn't isolate ace 9, but I would isolate ace 10, king jack type hands. Now he just goes and reships. I'm getting a little better than 2 to 1. I'm just going to call off with my ace 10 here. Got it in ahead pre-flop. And the river that queen, giving him 2 pairs, 3 pairs, but gives me the Broadway straight. Starting to run a little more pure here today. The ace-king v aces and the ace-king top pair top kicker versus set of queens and a 4-bet pot hands aside. Other than that, things have been all hunky-dory for me. Get a 2.5x open from the cutoff, although he's been awful tight. I don't know enough that it really makes that big a difference here over a couple of orbits. Either way, I'm 3-betting this guy with pocket jacks. 3-betting about 9-10% here. Calls, we flop top set, jack 7-3 rainbow. I'll go ahead and put in my small range bet. Probably checking the turn a lot here. Against the ace, trying to think. I'm not that worried. Well, I think if he's got the ace, he's going to be betting it. So I think I can just go ahead and check to him. Not the best river as that gut shot got there, but other than that, I'm not that worried about it. Plan to check call off or check raise all in. Oh, and it was an overset, so it was a nasty setup. Nothing I did there really had anything to do with me having some skill. The deck just gave me the stack there. Don't get me wrong, I'll take it, but was hoping I was picking up the stack because I did something special, did something good, as opposed to just set over set. Either way, I'll take it. Lower left-hand table, get a 2.5x open from the button. I will be 3-betting out of my small blind here with pocket queens, 3-betting about 15% in this ultra-loose formation. Against that 3x size over here in the cutoff versus button formation, I actually would be a little bit tighter than against the standard size, and Jack-9 shifts into the fold range as opposed to into the call range. We get 4-bet here with pocket queens. Trying to decide if I just reship this. I think I just reshipped this pre-flop as opposed to flatting it. Upper right-hand table, 2.5x open for middle position. I'll 3-bet the small blind with king jack suited, 3-betting about 8-9%. Yeah, in this 4-bet spot here, I would jam kings, queens, ace, king, and I think I'd even jam ace-5 suited as a bluff there in that particularly loose formation. I would take aces and flat them instead to pick off post-flop bluffs and trap. And then I would probably be calling pretty wide as well, just because that formation is so loose. I mean, jack's down to about 7s maybe, something like that, against a reg. Yeah, jack's down to about 7s, and maybe my suited Broadway cards as well, all of them. I get a 3x open here on the upper left-hand table for middle position. I'm in the cutoff. I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet ace-jack, 3-betting about 9% here. Upper right-hand table, no reason to range bet multi-way. I'll go ahead and check back this particular combo. Be betting if I had a decent jack or some kind of set, 6-4, ace deuce, ace-4 for gut shot, 6-7. I'm going to get let into there for about 75%. Just no real equity. Just go ahead and fold. My 3-bet got cold called by the button, then the pre-flop raiser also calls. I'll check range multi-way sandwich between two players. Pretty good flop for me though, ace high, ace 4-3. The 3 on the turn is also not a scary card at all. It makes it harder. Somebody found a way into that pot with pocket 3s to hit a set. I'm not too worried about people having a naked 3 for trips. I'm going to go ahead and jab at this turn small now with my fairly strong top pair. Lower right-hand table, going to open king, jack suited from middle position using a 21% range. River puts a 4 straight out there. I'm really not sure I want to value bet this anymore. It's kind of close. I just don't know that he has too much stuff like ace-10, ace-8 in there that will call me off, and the middling pocket pairs probably now are going to be scared enough of that board to just give up. Hand's probably good, but I don't think I can value bet on that particular river card. My king jack gets led into for 10 into 26. I'm going to go ahead and float that at least once. I've got the pivot to the straight. I've got an overcard. I'm not terribly convinced that a donk lead is all that particularly strong. Here I can have some various flush draws. I can have some gut shots, although the gut shots really aren't great. None of my gut shots are going to have a heart blockers. I don't have jack 10, 10, 9 offsuit. I think I'll just check this one back. I guess my flush draws all are going to be mixed for some real good bluffs there. This one could be bet just because of great removal properties to that queen. I'm just not completely sure if that's a hand I want to be barreling with there or not. On that river now, I can either bluff catch or value against most sizes, and I can value bet if he checks to me. He had pocket queens in that hand where he cold called. I'm going to give him a maybe tag for not cold four betting the way he should, and that cost him that pot. At queen 8-3 queen jack board, he checks again on the river, so I'm going to go ahead and try to get value with my jack. He folds pretty quickly. Lower right-hand table, blind on blind, get a 3x open. Ace-2 suited is one of the only combos I actually fold to a 3x open blind on blind, but I'll stick to the plan here and fold it. Calling, I'm sure, cannot be too bad, though. It's pretty close. Lower right-hand table, blind on blind, a player who's made a questionable raise size earlier limps in. I'm going to go ahead and raise up with something like my button raise first in range. I think is good here, about 44%. Ace-king, of course, definitely wants to raise against a small blind limp. Blind on blind. He limp calls. We get a king 10-8 rainbow board. I will go ahead and put in a range bet. Small range bet. He calls. Turn is the 7. Was planning to overbet this hand on most turns. I actually think I'd rather be overbetting a hand like king 9 or even king jack because it blocks straight draws and removal to the nut straight. You could put this hand into a small bet size. I'm just going to go ahead and check it back. That's why the small bet size actually can work well there as well if we're using multiple sizes in the turn. I'm not mentally organized enough or good enough to use multiple bet sizes in the turn, so I just played overbet or check and check this one back. Against that small lead, I'll go ahead and pick it off. Small river lead, yeah, and we're good against third pair. Which honestly probably plays better as a check in that line than a lead, but. Get a 2.5x open from middle position, the lower right-hand table. I'm going to go ahead and put in my squeeze from the button with ace-4 suited. Squeezing about 10% here. 9s plus suited broadways, ace-jack plus king-queen, and then ace-5, ace-4 suited seems like a pretty reasonable range to do this with to me. Initial raiser comes along for the call. Middle player also comes along for the call. Get a king 8-8 two-tone board. No reason to range bet should it check to me here multi-way. I think I'd rather be stabbing with various flush draws. I guess there's some merit for betting the backdoor flush draw, but I just don't think that really is necessary here. I'll check this one back. Upper left-hand table, open jacks from middle position using a 21% range. And he leads into me. I was going to stab at the turn if it checked to me again. I could legitimately have 9s full and kings full here. I think kings full I would just check back on that particular flop. Maybe bet it could go either way, but I think I'd probably check it back because the board's so locked down. Here, ace-4, I can just fold against that raise, or the bet, rather. Kind of have some other weaker king X that didn't bet the flop. I'm probably betting the flop a lot with hands like aces, ace king, king queen, and some flush draws. Get a 2.25x open from middle position upper right-hand table. I will 3-bet the cutoff with ace-10 suited. 3-betting about 10% there. Lower left-hand table, I defended the 3x open blind on blind with 10-9. I stabbed at the flop small on the 6-3 deuce two-tone board. He check calls. Turn is the 9, giving me the pair. I'll get 4-bet here in the upper right-hand table and just go ahead and fold my ace-10. I think I want to be overbet or check in that spot. I mean, I can have 5-4 offsuit. I probably re-raise the 5-4 suited, but I can have 6s, 3s, and deuces as well. I can have a hand like 6-9 for 2 pair. I think I'll check this one back and look to bluff catch or value bet the river instead. He checks again. My hand is now sufficiently under rep that I can get called by ace high and random pairs. Quickly snaps it off and tosses it in the muck just as fast. He had ace of diamonds, 8 of hearts. I don't necessarily dislike his call in that line. Check calling the flop against the small size is probably correct. I mean, he had the best hand by far. And then on the river there, a paired board, low run, and I can have all kinds of bullshit that didn't get there. I didn't show a ton of strength with the broken aggression line on the turn. I don't really have a problem with his call. But that's why I put some of those good hand, decently good, decent top pair type hands on that turn into that check back line, so I can either induce bluffs and bluff catch or under rep. Don't really think I'm going to get 3 streets of value from worse hands there very much anyway, so can check the turn instead. I guess you could also bet the turn and check back the river, but I think I usually, in most cases, I prefer those kind of hands to try to get the value on the river as opposed to the turn. I'm not as worried about equity denial and protection. Lower left-hand table, open 10s on the button, using a 44% range. Get an ace-5-4 two-tone board against the fishy short stack that called from the small blind. He's only got 83 bucks left. I am going to go ahead and put in the small range bet here. If he starts putting a bunch of money in this pot, I'm going to give him credit for having the ace, though. He goes ahead and check calls. Turn, I will check back my 10s, try to get this pot towards the river. I think I would probably just check this down if he checks again. When he bets 9 into 44, I'm just going to go ahead and call anything with showdown value. He had ace-deuce. The pre-flop play, of course, is not good, but everything post-flop I think is just fine. I would probably bet the river larger, but I don't mind the check call, check turn, bet river line from him there. If I somehow found a way to get myself into that spot on the flop with ace-deuce offsuit. Upper left-hand table, going to open ace-10 under the gun using an 18% range. Blind on blind, upper left-hand table, get that min raise. I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet very aggressively, 18% or more, including my 10-9 suited. Lower left-hand table, open ace-7 suited under the gun using 18% range. Upper right-hand table, I'll limp small blind after a rec limps under the gun with queen 10. And then against a 2x open blind on blind, lower right-hand table, I will defend for a call with 10-8 offsuit. Upper left-hand table, he checks to me. I'll range bet small on the ace-9-8 two-tone board. Lower left-hand table will check range to the in-position player. Upper right-hand table, flop checks through. I'm going to stab with my queens on the king, 7 queen board. I do have that flush draw blocker as well. I'm going to go ahead and float in position with that gut shot against the pot size bet, lower right-hand table. Lower left-hand table, going to go ahead and jab the turn after the flop checks through. I don't know that I get this guy to fold pairs too much. I'm just going to try to show down my ace high. Against the second barrel with the gut shot, no other equity, I'm just going to fold the 10-8. Now he bets 22 into 48. He bets like half pot. I got raised here with this queen 10. I think I should just go ahead and fold that one. Interesting. I mean, this is all really pointing towards a bluff catch. Yeah, I'm just going to do it. And he had a queen, which is not unreasonable, but you could have busted draws there too. Don't have to be good that much. I think it's okay to blast there, or to not blast there, but to bluff catch there. I'm not going to be good a ton, but I don't have to be good a ton. Lower right-hand table, I open the button, queen 9 suited, using about a 44% range. Get 3 bets small by a fishy small blind player. This is kind of a weird spot. Wouldn't really expect to call too much here. However, the fish uses such a small size, it gets a lot closer. I think I'm going to go ahead and fold it, but damn, that's close. Get a 2.2x open from the cutoff on the lower left-hand table. I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet about 10% out of the big blind with my king-queen suited. Upper left-hand table, I'll open 6s under the gun, using an 18% range. Big blind comes along, get an ace, queen 9, 2-tone board. I'll go ahead and range bet small. Comes along. Probably no reason to be continuing to blast with this, but I will, I've got various straight draws like Jack 10, King Queen or King Queen. I'm sorry, King Jack, King 10, especially with heart blockers or spade blockers. 6s will just go ahead and put in the check back line. I can maybe even find an excuse to bluff raise this. Not if he blasts me for pot, though. If he blasts for pot, I'll just go ahead and fold. Lower left-hand table, open ace queen from the middle position using a 21% range. And it's a bit earlier than I normally shut a session down, but I've got something I've got to go do in about 10 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and shut these tables down here as the blinds come around. Get a 2.6x open here on the button versus big blind lower right-hand table. A hand like Queen 5 suited can very clearly be a call there against that. And I'll check range on the flop. Now he goes ahead and range bets, or I don't know if it's a range bet, but it's a small bet. I'm going to go ahead and check raise this aggressively. I can barrel on clubs for the most part. You have good removal to the king-queen hand, which is going to put up some resistance against check raises as well. Upper left-hand table, got a 3x open for middle position. I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet from the button with the ace-jack using about a 10% range. I'm going to go ahead and check the queen 5 here after he called the check raise, and I did not pick up any equity. I'm going to go ahead and isolate the limper on the upper right-hand table. Upper left-hand table, he calls the 3-bet. Going to go ahead and put in a small range bet. Upper right-hand table, also going to put in a small range bet after he calls on that ace-king 5 rainbow flop. I get raised small here. I'm going to go ahead and defend that for a call with second pair top kicker, backdoor flush draw. River, I've really got to go ahead and try to blast him off of a hand here, so I'm going to go ahead and blast for pot. Upper left-hand table, going to go ahead and check back after he check called the flop. Going to fold that second barrel from the fishy player, though, here after he raises and then bets the turn. He moves all in on me. I've got ace high. I'll just fold him, not even think twice about that. Maybe I should think about it longer, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be a fold. Did get that river bluff through in the lower right-hand table, however. That 3x pot, probably pretty overbluffed. Let's check call, check bet. Probably pretty underbluffed, rather. Pairing turn, low board staying low. I don't know, maybe that's a little bit closer than I give it credit for, as a matter of fact. You know, I can have some strong hands in my range. I can have hands like tens full, first of all, that could check back that turn, and I would mostly check back the turn with that. Don't really have the 8x, but I've got some 10x hands to bluff catch there with as well. I can probably also check back aces on that turn just because it's pretty invulnerable, especially aces if I had the flush draw blocker. King 8's a fold under the gun on the lower left-hand table. Couple hands left on the lower right-hand table before the session wraps up. Big pot brewing over here. Yeah, this guy is using odd bet size, and he bets 226 when he's got 312 effective behind him. Yeah, that guy is not too good. Not sure what he's thinking there. And he's gone. And that's the end for me as well. Thank you for watching my video. Until next time, this is Charlie Murphy signing off.